Well, hello there to everyone. You're on the Clark the Shark show, the most amazing shark you will ever find on the internet, uh, worldwide, the whole universe. It's Sharky, baby. 1-800-449-8255. The fabulous Clark the Shark show. And I'm going to talk about one of the most amazing debut albums that possibly exists ever of all time. Not possibly, baby. Definitely. And of course, I'm talking about the Amboy Dukes with Ted Nugent. And what an album, man. Now, this came out in 1967, but it grooves, man, baby, like an album from 1969 or something. I mean, it's just, I can't really, just declare loudly that it's ahead of its time, but it is up to date, baby. Maybe ahead of its time. This album is a watershed, if you will. It introduces a whole new sound and style of hard rock before Steppenwolf, or, roughly about the same time. The Steppenwolf album didn't come out till 1968, but it was recorded, weirdly enough, in 1967. You could tell there was a lot of guitar bands with that garage 1966 vibe, and they were getting kind of sick of this psychedelic crap in 67. They wanted to get back to rocking hard, but this time, in 1968, they wanted to rock even harder and bigger than 1966. And Ted Nugent and Farmer were a couple of these guys that wanted to do this with the Amboy Dukes. This band definitely has a vision for the future, as it also celebrates the past with this album, the recent past. There is definitely a celebration of 1966 garage all over this amazing album here. Man, what an album. Amboy Dukes, not Ted Nugent in the Amboy Dukes. No, that came much later. This is the Amboy Dukes. And you know me, Clark the Shark. I like Ted Nugent. I'm not really wild about Ted Nugent, the person, or his solo albums. There are some interesting and very funny songs, usually about sex and wang dang doodle ism, Just like Clark the Shark, yours truly, Ted Nugent loves to have, or at least used to love back in the day, to do you-know-what to girls. 1-800-449-8255. The Clark the Shark show. Come on, Shark, keep it clean. I'm supposed to be this Christian Republican, right-wing guy like Ted Nugent. But, even we get dirty at times. We can't help it. We're from the earth. We're human. At 1-800-449-8255. But I hope God or Christ or whoever's up there forgives me for listening to Ted Nugent also, and the Amboy Dukes. This incredible debut album that has it all. Garage, hard rock, psychedelia, blues. Baby, it's killer. I love this album, and I bought this at the Rhodium in Torrance, and I used to play it to death. And I haven't really listened to it a lot lately, just sporadically. I get kind of sick of it because there's also like this generic thing about it. Or maybe it's just that I don't like thinking about Ted Nugent. I don't know what it is, but I don't play enough Amboy Dukes, and I have to go back. And every time I do, I'm like, fucking dude, This band is insane. They're killer. But if you think this first album is really awesome and good, wait till you hear the next album, baby. Journey to the Center of Your Mind. It's almost like these guys are the inventors of incredible rock and roll, even more than like The Who, Led Zeppelin, The Stones, The Beatles, you name it. This band had a vision. And I also think there was much conflict in this band because these other guys were uncomfortable and nervous about having to be with and play with Ted Nugent, of all people, who was a guy with a rock and roll vision, but he didn't fit into their psychedelic, let's all get stoned vision. And yet he totally does. Believe you me, people. Guys like me, Clark the Shark, and Ted Nugent, we may seem boring and, kind of a stick in the mud, but baby, we have vision, and usually we got psychedelic, creative vision like no liberal or Democrat will ever have, baby. Let me tell you, I'm a Taurus, April 27, and I got plenty of creativity and weirdness about me, Clark the Shark. And I think it's very intimidating in the South Bay. All the people, they want to show that they're talented around Hermosa Beach, Redondo, Torrance, Lomita, Palos Verdes. And then Clark the Shark comes in the room and I just destroy all of you. And you know it too. You're like, fuck, dude, come on, Hammer, don't hurt him, Sharky. I'm like, you can't touch this, baby. I'm Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255. And Ted Nugent is the same way, baby. He's a wang danger. He just loves to get naked and wang dang. And just like Sharky, he wasn't really a big drug user. I don't know how much he drank, but I definitely drank a lot. I mean, I don't think Ted drank much or even at all. He just liked to play with guns and play with his penis at 1-800-449-8255. But I'm glad, baby. I'm glad Ted Nugent is a little weird, kind of like Tiger Woods and like Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 on the fabulous Clark the Shark Show from the golden EIB Sharkerphone, baby. It's kind of late at night now. I don't even have coffee, and listen to me. I'm still rocking and rolling. I'm on all cylinders here, baby. Clark the Shark Show, but I'm talking about one of the greatest albums ever. And an album that I love. The amazing debut from the Amboy Dukes, just an underrated, underappreciated band. But not really. Everybody knows these guys in rock and roll. And even though they do have Ted Nugent, it's kind of like the Greenhouse Effect with Clark the Shark. Even though the band has a complete douchebag in it that everybody hates, it's still a guilty pleasure. And you sit there at night listening to it. All of you in the South Bay just are all over the country. Ohio, New York, everywhere. Oregon, Seattle, Montana. They can't get enough of Clark the Shark. I mean, you guys won't stop listening to my music. And you're stroking my ego here, man. Knock it off. If you guys would quit listening to me, maybe I would stop with this 1-800-449-8255 Clark the Shark Show from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. But I can't, baby, because I'm talking about Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes debut album. Should get 5 stars. Oh yeah, baby, it gets 4.5, but 5. 5 stars is what it should get. And of course, their version of Baby, Please Don't Go is epic. I love it. It's a little slow. I wish it was faster. The drums here seem a little, robotic and mechanical, kind of, what's that word? Deliberate or something. I still love it, dude. The Baby Please Don't Go, the version here by the Amboy Dukes is awesome. It breaks new ground somehow from, the 1966 garage version. Amazing. But I love the 1967 version here more by the Amboy Dukes. And I Feel Free, the Cream cover. I hate covers. I kind of hate Baby Please Don't Go too, but these are so fucking killer, dude. These first two songs are so good. I wish these weren't the first two songs, because this isn't the best shit on the album, but they're killer. I mean, very similar to Cream, a little different though. It's killer. But then when we get into the Farmer Nugent tracks, it gets really fucking good, people. Young Love, their debut, Ridge, very kind of funky. Love the weird drumming, killer parts in it. It gets mellow, goes really mellow, cool. Killer, dude. And of course, the greatest song on the album is Psalms and of Aftermath. Man, you talk about a song I love from the Rhodium in Torrance on an old scratchy vinyl. I tried to find this at Go Boy Records down in Redondo. I looked everywhere, but I found it at the Rhodium. The Rhodium in Torrance, baby. You know Clark the Shark used to love to ride his bike and come home with records. On my bike, I would have records on my Strand Cruiser. And one time, some guy got out of his car and, like, beat me up or something and stole all my records I had bought at the Rhodium as I was riding my bike along Sepulveda. He took all my records, man. And thank God one of them was not the Amboy Dukes debut album, or I would have been pissed, man. Me, Clark the Shark, I'm not very violent, not very tough, but man, if he would have stole my Amboy Dukes, dude, you would have been crossing the Rubicon. That would have been bad. Uh, Colors, track number 5. Awesome song, man. Dude, sounds almost like Steppenwolf or something. I mean, I hear everything in this album. Country Joe and the Fish, Moby Grape for sure, Quicksilver, The Dead. Golly, dude. It's very melodic, funky. All these songs are funky and killer, and the guitar is just awesome from Nugent. Man. Him and Farmer, man. A couple of geniuses on this album. And you gotta hear Steve Farmer's solo album, man, from 2000. Fucking killer. It's a lot like Clark the Shark and the Greenhouse Effect. I swear to God, you guys. I'm not kidding. And side 2, I don't know, man. Is this better than side 1? Maybe. Let's Go Get Stoned is like, of course, it's an Ashford and Simpson song that so many people have done. Ray Charles, of course, and Joe Cocker. all the versions of it are killer. It's just a drug. You know, me, Clark the Shark, I'll consider it like my alcohol song. But it's definitely, if you like drugs and if you like weed, if you like heroin, you're going to love track number 6, baby. Of course, dude. Killer. And Down on Phillips Escalator. Almost like the Birds. Really fucking killer, but up to date. All the song is all these songs have annoying Ted Nugent guitar just jangling. But it's always awesome. I love it because it's so up to date and even a little ahead of its time. Now we start to get into some amazing, awesome songs here near the end of this. The Lovely Lady, this grooves in 3/4, 6/8. You know Shark loves 3/4 and 6/8. And has like such killer guitar that's like a mandolin. Killer drums, killer harmonies of singing. This might be the best song on the fucking album, dude. The Lovely Lady. Awesome, baby. You gotta buy this album just for The Lovely Lady. Killer. Nighttime. Killer, dude. Nighttime. Fuck, dude. Like an angry bull snarl or something starts it out. It's got a very 1966 vibe. Killer harmonies with the singing. And the guitar, of course, from Ted Nugent. Killer, killer, killer. 1-800-449-8255, The Clark the Shark Show. I am in heaven now. It's not really Sharky's Underground Garage. This is Sharky's Overground Garage, because now we're moving to the late 60s with hard rock. from just all these great bands that I'm going to review. Steppenwolf, all these bands that I love, man. You're gonna love it when I review these albums from 1969. It's such an awesome year, and dude, the cover of "It's Not True" by The Who, of course, is awesome, dude. You know, I don't even need to tell you about how fucking killer that is. Very similar to The Who, but more attitude. And of course, Gimme Love. Ted's like, come here, little girl, gimme love. Just gimme love. Killer harmonies guitar. It's like The Doors meets Garage, but it's up to date, baby. Gimme love. These songs got catchy choruses. The song Nighttime, man, almost reminds me of the Remains or the Standells or the Yardbirds, but advanced. Killer harmonies everywhere on this album, you guys. This album is seriously killer. Seriously. Awesome. It's loaded with just killer shit. What can I say? You talk about a genius album, it is the debut from the Amboy Dukes. There's not enough I can say about this amazing album. Quicksilver Messenger Service and Country Joe and the Fish, eat your heart out, dude. The Grateful Dead, you guys got nothing on this. This is 1967, but this album is so up to date, so ahead of its time. It could be from 1970, you guys. I'm not kidding. This is an awesome album. And everybody in the band is important, man. Everyone. Steve Farmer, of course, dude, the guitar, and Ted Nugent. And this singer this guy, John Drake, doesn't like Ted Nugent. They don't get along, and, because he's like, Ted's a square. Ted is a square, dude, but on this album, he rocks. And all these other guys are important, the piano and organ from Rick. And this drummer was on the next album, man. He's good, a little robotic, but I still like it because it's tight and powerful and good shit, dude. I love 6-piece bands. I always think of the Amboy Dukes and Ted Nugent as 4 or 5-piece, but on this album, 6 pieces, baby, and they all matter here. 2 guitars, 2 geniuses. Steve Farmer, of course, that solo album from 2000, very recent. You gotta hear it. And he's a very underappreciated guy in history. John Drake, love him or hate him, I love the singing. I love it, man. Love it. The next album, you guys, when I review that, you're going to go buy the album. But you're going to go buy this one right now. Because all these geniuses who created this genius, and Ted Nugent, really, he's underrated for genius. I'm telling you guys, his guitar is annoying, but him and Farmer, they just both lock in here, rhythm and leads, and it's just killer, dude. The Amboy Dukes, not Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, they debut album, baby, where they're just like, every band, step aside, The Who, Stones, all you guys. There's a new band in town, baby. There's a new sheriff in town, and he has a badge, and his name is Ted. And I'm not really wild about Ted or his solo albums, but I can review them all. I know them all, baby. Ted's brother, Rick Carmody, the bassist of the Greenhouse Effect, his brother, Pat Carmody, had every Ted Nugent album. We all like sex in the South Bay, we all like to meet girls. Everyone has a girlfriend or something, or just goes to buy a woman of a night or whatever. And we love Ted Nugent. We idolize him, and we just go and get hammered on Saturday night. And then we're in Mass. Usually the 6:00 Mass at St. Lawrence Martyr in Redondo, where we can barely stand because we're just so hungover. But we're looking at all the girls in church. And back in the 80s or whenever, maybe even the 90s, You go to St. Lawrence Martyr Catholic Church, go to the back, and you might see Clark the Shark standing there. And I'm there to check out the Lord, and hear the word, hear the gospel. But I'm there to look at the girls too at 1-800-449-8255. Of course, there was the girl Cindy. Um, I think her and me went to church together, and I always thought the girl was kind of dumb or something, but then I heard her pray, and she knew all the songs and all the prayers, and I was like, wow, Cindy's not dumb. What am I thinking? I'm dumb. And then the girl Tanya, who was famously Carl's sister, she was just a knockout, man. She's just too hot for me. I couldn't ask her out or get serious. I was always clowning around and acting weird. And I guess she was like a Scorpio, which would have been a perfect match with a Taurus. But she didn't like me and Clark the Shark's wild, zany sense of humor. It's such a shame. We might have been a perfect match. But we'll never know now, as later on, Clark the Shark visited Frogs in Lawndale, a place where the Greenhouse Effect played so many shows with punk bands. And I met this girl in there in honor of Ted Nugent. I just saw this girl in a dress, a beautiful like blue or gray dress. And I was like, oh, that's it. It was a black girl, and I married her. I had to. I just forget it, baby. I'm going to do everything to that at 1-800-449-8255. So, in honor of Ted Nugent, the Dangle, Wang-a-dang-a-daddy, a king of them all, Clark the Shark had to go and listen to plenty of Nugent, plenty of Amboy Dukes in my day. I'm trying to keep it a family show, but it's getting a little dirty now because I'm talking about the South Bay, Redondo Beach, St. Lawrence Church, the Rhodium. All the memories come back to you, Prospect Avenue. Let's drive down to Torrance Boulevard and turn left. Go down to the Redondo Pier, and you might find Clark the Shark at Fashions dancing to disco back in the 80s or early 90s. I wasn't listening to Ted Nugent that night, but I was trying to meet a girl in honor of just my heroes, people like Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. I love it. These guys sing about not really deep issues, but they are, to me, Clark the Shark, something about this album touches me, it's just a dirty album. Like, gimme love, girl. You just 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show, gimme love. Nighttime and the lovely lady. And let's go get stoned. Oh, baby, what an album. Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. Not Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, baby. This is just the Amboy Dukes' debut album. 1967, the psychedelic year. 1967. This came out at the same time as the Who Sell Out. But baby, this is more advanced. This album is incredible. This album goes to the future of hard rock. And every other album wanted to be like this album and follow these guys, the true leaders of the rock and roll scene, the Amboy Dukes, an amazing band from Detroit. Detroit basketball. Detroit, Michigan, baby. The place of the MC5 and the Stooges. Iggy Pop and the Who would go and play there, and all these great bands would go and play the Grand Ballroom. I wish I was there, baby, to go back in time to the Grand and smell the patchouli, smell the incense, smell the clove cigarettes, smell the marijuana as you hear the MC5 cranking it loud and kicking out the jams, motherfucker. Or maybe Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes where you just got the only review of one of the greatest albums that you will ever need, people. And you got it right here on the Clark the Shark Show. 1-800-449-8255. The Clark the Shark Fabulous Golden EIB Sharkraphone. It's not a microphone. It's a Sharkraphone. Because I'm one of the greatest Sharkies you will ever find in the universe. Everywhere you search, you'll never find a better Sharky than right here on the fabulous, amazing Clark the Shark Show. That's right, the Wolfman Jack on crack. I'm Clark the Shark, and you just got the word, the gospel, baby. You just got Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes and Steve Farmer and all of them making this amazing rock opera of dedicated guitar, keyboards, drums, incredible harmonies, incredible songs, just an incredible album. Go and buy this right now at Spotify, Amazon, or go to the Rhodium in Torrance. See if you can find it. Sadly, Go Boy Records is gone now, I think. Or maybe Sharky just hasn't been there lately. But go online and buy this, and if you can find the vinyl, buy the vinyl. If you can find the analog vinyl, buy it, baby. It's gonna sound great on the Clark the Shark Show. You're now crystallized and hypnotized by a Sharky. 1967 psychedelia. Little Steven, eat your heart out. Little Sharky's underground garage just paved the way, baby. And I'm out. Peace.